Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tiffany.
To some, we could be called career wizards.
And to others, sometimes we seem like therapists. However, we definitely are not.
But for you, we are the co-hosts of the Career Boosters podcast.
I had a chat with Tiffany this morning. We're talking about the self-expression parts. And we kind of had a very deep and meaningful conversation around it, where even this morning, Tiffany made me see a difference of opinion about how people, if they really can't read you, might feel that they are not safe around you, which is, again, a dynamic to how I probably wouldn't have seen it before.
Hello and welcome to the Career Boosters podcast, season 3, episode 10. This week in class, we had the opportunity to introduce a big portion of the human or people skills that Tiffany and I believe are so important and so invaluable in the world of work. We introduced emotional intelligence. A lot of the knowledge that we have around emotional intelligence comes from one specific model in particular, and that one is called EQI 2.0. A lot of the belief around emotional intelligence is, oh, I have empathy and I'm good at that. Well, surprise, one of, the biggest pieces of emotional intelligence and what we try to do in helping people understand emotional intelligence is it's so much more than just empathy. Knowledge of self, how we express our emotions, how we build and develop mutually beneficial interpersonal relationships, how we solve problems, how we make decisions, all of these, how we deal with stress, all of these pieces involve emotions and our emotional intelligence. We are very excited to welcome our guest Deen Ajayi to the show today to talk about emotional intelligence. Deen, I get to start with the first question, and I'm very thankful to having you here today. But what is the story behind your decision to embark on an MBA journey right now?
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Tiffany, for having me on the show. My reason or my decision to be in here is mainly to learn, to learn perspective, share people's opinion, get to understand life from people's interpretation of it. Because we at times get sucked up in the fact that we know so much, forgetting that we actually know at times little than we think we know. And not every knowledge comes from the textbook. Most actually come from interaction we have with people. So for me, like Tiffany would always say in our session, that it's about finding deeper meaning and deeper connection, which I've taken so much from. Each time she says it, like, yes. So to put it to summarize it, it's, I'm here. My decision to be here is more to gain deeper insights and hopefully build deeper, meaningful relationship as well.
That's amazing, and I think what a powerful way to look at, a master's degree, and specifically in business, which is wonderful. I've been starting to add this into the season 3 of our podcast. What's been your favorite part of an MBA journey so far? Like you've been here for, oh my gosh, 3 months, almost 4 months. What's it been like so far? What's been the favorite part?
Yeah, I'll call it one that has been enlightening. And I take it back to what I said a few minutes ago. Have I checked the reason I'm here? I think yes, I'm checking it. I've met people, I've had conversations, I've had conversations in class that's, show me a back as well, like, oh, I never saw this from that point of view. Kind of, and that's one of the reasons, like I said, I'm here. I mean, there are other reasons, but for me, that would be the highlight of it. It's about, so what am I, how am I trying to interpret the world? How am I trying to get deeper insight into people to be a better person for myself first, so then to be a better leader if I find myself in such position or whatever it is I am leading right now. So yes, so far I've enjoyed the conversations, I've enjoyed the interactions in class, and I've enjoyed the things that I've learned so far. And
Mm-hmm.
that for me carries a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that I have really enjoyed our conversations because of the depth of them. And I'll partner that with I've really enjoyed the openness that you have when we go and find something to talk about and kind of peel back the onion layers. You do it with a lot of knowledge, but also like an openness and a humility. that comes with this I don't know what I don't know, and I want to know more. And it's been a really fun journey for me too, to be able to kind of pull back some of those layers. So today we're going to pull back layers on emotion and talk about this thing called emotional intelligence. So just curious, what was your knowledge set, interest, impression? Just what did you know about the realm of emotion before you took the assessment, got a report? We talked about it in class. Where were we starting with you?
So it's I think I also come from that general population of emotion is empathy. Emotion is the ability to understand, to show mercy, to be kind to other people. Like, it's that saying of do unto others what you know you can accept, kind of a thing. So that for me is where my EQ or my emotion ability kind of laid as well, until when I took the assessment and of course the conversation in class. I remember in class talking about the decision making process and the problem solving. And these were things that before then I wasn't so conscious of. But that conversation in class threw that to me, like, okay, at times we're faced with this. How then do we navigate it? And which I spoke about in class the other day as well. So it's been that journey for me to kind of see the difference in the little things. Like people would say, paying attention to details. It's in the ability to understand that at times life does not have to run in parallel. We have to at times take things stepwise. Some
Mm-hmm.
things sometimes come before the other. And it's in that ability to understand that as well that for me has made a lot of meaning. So yeah. So with my view of emotional EQ before now has just been that of, be kind to people, understand people from where as they will treat people as they want to be treated, not as you think they should be treated. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's being expanded to the point of things like decision making, self-expression, self-realization, perception as well. So all that seems
Mm-hmm.
to be coming together now.
Mm. I wanted to ask at this beginning stage of what did you know about emotions, about any wisdom from your dad. And I asked that specifically because you often offer wisdom in when you and I chat from other places. And one of them has been quite often, my dad used to tell me blank. And it's always been really enlightening and quite deep. And so I'm curious if your dad offered you any wisdom in this realm of, treating people, kindness, empathy, emotion. I don't know. What did dad have to say?
So yeah, the one thing I learned from him with regards to this, and I remember he was the first person that said this to me, and I think to my siblings as well, is do good to people on your way up because you don't know who you will meet on your way down.
Mm.
Like it's one thing he will always say, just be good to people. So it's one of his way to enforce the abilities or the need to be good to people. All right. So don't think because you're in a position today mean that then take it as you abuse it, for lack of a better word. Be
Mm-hmm.
good to people because life is dynamic and funny at times. It
Mm-hmm.
has a way of getting people. So if you think that you are holding this power today, tomorrow you don't have the power anymore. And that person that either helped or treated badly will be the one sitting in that position tomorrow. How then do you face that? So that's one of the things. So his proverb or his saying has always been do good to people when you're way up, particularly when you have the means to do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what would happen, because no one remains in a position forever. And that's
No.
the truth.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things he is emphasized in that area.
That's your father sounds like a very wise individual. And when we think about just even relationship building, when we think about networking, it's treat people with kindness, with respect, with a sense of authenticity. And once you do that, great things will happen. And maybe now something might work out, but maybe down the road it could as well, right? And so I think that's really fascinating. You and we had a fun conversation before class started, actually, on Monday as well, and we talked about there's this. I'm very old, and so I come from the school of boys aren't supposed to cry, right? And I remember you
Yeah.
and I talking about like that, emotion when you're young, you don't cry, you don't show emotion. And I am blessed with a kid that has a lot of emotion, and I'm trying to do the opposite of like show your emotion, like it's okay, right? Like, and I think sometimes our visions will change from the way that we were raised, our communities that we were a part of, and things like that. And I think it's how we take the information we have now, but also learn, like you said, and how can we proactively try to make things a little bit better, which is so cool. And I'll be honest, I don't have that many deep conversations with students that I don't know too well. You work with Tiffany all the time, and it was a blessing for me to get to kind of have that in-depth kind of conversation, which is beautiful. In class, I got to run you guys through a bit of a visualization activity. This was the first time that we had done something like this, and it was very unique. I wanted to kind of pull out a few emotions for you guys. How did you experience that, and what emotions did you notice in response to that story?
So I think it's from so when the story was going on, and because we're supposed to either close our eyes, right, or just go along with the story. I mean, it was in the ability to self-reflect. All right. So it's one thing that you are saying something to us. It's another thing for us to be able to actually reflect over what you're saying. So one of the things I picked out from that was my ability to want to make meaning out of the story, want to be able to interact with it and be able to see how it then impact or affects me. How do I fit into the story, kind of a thing. So if I would use a word, I would say it's in that self-reflection or self-perception as to, okay, I'm listening to this story. It's taking me through a process, right? And how do I put myself into that process as well as the story proceeds? So that was the first thing for me is in the ability to self-reflect. And of course, overall is also in the ability to, I would say, gain perception from it. What did I feel about it? So yeah, that's for me was the standout, particularly the ability to self-reflect.
And I think you're talking again about depth, right? Anytime we lead anyone through a visualization, it is up to you to get something out of it. And so your ability to sit there and realize there was something to gain here, can I kind of pull inside and have that self reflection, to me, again, continues to show depth, which is beautiful. And it's also a role model for others, which I really also appreciate about you. After that visualization, we went right into something that we do often with students, is tell us about a standout manager, coach, mentor. Could be when you're growing up, could be sports, could be professional, but somebody who made a positive impression on you from a leadership perspective. Curious to hear who you thought about and why they came to mind and what you shared about them.
I've had quite a number of people. Like I'm a believer in the mentor-mentee structure. And like someone always say that, I don't know how true this is, but before you can be a good leader, you will be a good follower first. All right. So of course, before you can put yourself in a position of a mentor, you must have been a mentee at some point to have listened to. And I've had quite a number of that. I mean, when I was doing my PhD, the person that supervised me was also happened to be my mentor. So he would speak so much. I mean, he told me the story of when you're employed as a manager, then you always say, if you're employed as a manager, remember that your job is not to go check the box or tick the box. Your job is to go make decisions. That's why you're paid that amount. If they needed someone to tick the box, they'll get someone off the streets. So it is in your ability to apply intuition and be able to look at situations and make decisions appropriately. Even if you get it wrong, you still have to make a decision. And that's what you're employed there for. So him, I would say, is one person. And I'm not going to speak about my dad here. I'm just going to speak about him. Like he is one person that actually impacted me as well. Because it kind of took me through a journey. I mean, in class, I've spoken about the ability to distinguish between criticizing someone and critiquing someone. That's also something I got from him. He would always say that I could sit here now and criticize the work you've done, something I've done for 6 months. But I'll do you a favor of not criticizing it, but let's critique it together and see what we can both make out of it, right? So those are some of the things I got from him. Even in terms of book reading, how they say, read this and let me know what you think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's played a very significant role in my life. Away from being the supervisor, I also played the role of a mentor as well.
Mentor. How beautiful is that? I think there's so many words of wisdom and nuggets in there that I could pull from, but the one that stands out to me the most is the work together to do it. When I think about we have micromanagers who just sit over top of people and say, get this work done faster, or this wasn't done properly, or things like that. Feedback is an incredibly valuable skill. And I believe that our emotions are a big part of that feedback, but also how you're reacting to the other person's emotions, right? I think that, I made a comment, I think that I've been teaching emotional intelligence classes, I think it's like 6 or 7 years now. And when we ask that question of the best manager, best boss, not one person says anything about anything technical, right? Like they weren't the smartest with Microsoft Excel. They weren't the most gifted when it came to their technical prowess. It's how they made me feel. Right? That's almost every person is like, I felt needed. I felt it. I felt trust between these people, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. I think for a moment I'll just walk everyone through like this model that we use, and it's called EQI 2.0. And I think this is where we can look at it's beyond empathy, right? Empathy is a part of this, but there are kind of 15 components built into 5 buckets. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but it's definitely the first bucket and component, probably the most important one, is just the awareness of self, just understanding that I may feel these emotions. And then we have, how do we express those things? If I'm feeling joy, how do I express them, right? Then we talk about, and I referenced this, and Tiffany made a really cool, valuable point in class about mutually beneficial relationships. And I think that the relationships are so key to our own understanding of emotions. And then what's so cool is you wove in decision making and emotions within decision making. And then finally, just how do you manage stress, right? Are you optimistic? Are you flexible? Things like that. So this model looks at so many different components to it. I'd love to hear from you. Is there one thing that kind of stood out from you about this model that you were like, whoa, I want to learn more about that?
I had a chat with Tiffany this morning. We're talking about the self-expression parts, and we kind of had a very deep and meaningful conversation around it, where even this morning, Tiffany made me see a difference of opinion about how people, I mean, if they really can't read you, might feel that they are not safe around you, which is again a dynamic to how I probably wouldn't have seen it before. And because my view about it is also that it also helps people take away bias. If you can't read me, then you can form an opinion of me. You can easily come up with a bias about me, because generally we're judged based on, generally speaking, maybe not true all the time, but we are judged based on how we appear. So when you show up and people quickly form an opinion of you, even before you say anything, like Tiffany called it this one, the non-verbal, those things that you're not saying. That. So for me, it's the self-expression. How do we express ourselves, either verbally or non-verbally, in a way that makes people feel safe enough? And one of the things I mentioned to Tiffany was the fact that being a good listener can also help people, can also dampen that bias. Like feel like, okay, I know I'm safe enough. It's not being judgmental of what I am saying. And I give an example of someone says something terrible to you about what they've done. Rather than go, oh my God, why did you do that? You go, well, I guess you have a reason for doing it. Maybe you just had a bad day. It's the same. I mean, it's the same as kind of almost close expression, but you're not, flaying up, thinking, why? So it kind of it helps people understand or determine how they want to relate to you going further.
I really appreciated our conversation this morning, and it went right back to your openness and willing to learn and look at things at different perspectives, which was really, really neat. But I want to tie this into my next question, because part of our conversation this morning was also that you are somebody who has a significant talent at self-regulation. You and I've talked about, I love the Viktor Frankl quote that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our reaction. And to me, that's the definition of emotional intelligence, is what do we do in the space? You've got a story that you shared with me a little bit ago that speaks extremely, I think, to emotional intelligence, self-regulation, and finding what to do in between a pretty big stimulus and a surprising response that you had. Could you share it?
Yeah, sure. So I had a class. My Wednesdays are usually packed, so I have classes from 9 to 12 to 5, and then 6:30 to 9:30. So I finished the class like I think some Wednesdays ago, and then I usually packed at the U North. So I parked there. So I left the class and I went to go jump into the car and go home. I was tired, of course, exhausted. I just want to go straight to bed. I got there and the car was not there. Gone. So I was like, okay, am I dreaming? I mean, it's not a place where you want to look in the vending machine to look for the car. I'm like, okay, what happened? So I went back into the building. So we went to the app. So I have the app of the car on my phone. So I couldn't log into it outstairs. It was cold. So I went back into the building, then logged into the app, checked it. The app took me back to the same place. So I went again, I go to the same spots, empty spots, no car there. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I refreshed the app while standing there and it showed me 7.3 kilometers away. I'm like, okay. Now it's happened. Like here, we would steal, because the first thing I came to my mind, the car is stolen. Like, we would steal a car from here. So I was confused. I'm like, okay, what do I do? I need to report this. I need to find something to do. How do I get around this? Okay. So I called my wife. I'm like, okay, this has happened. I need to come pick me up. She's like, okay, let's report to the police, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, you just come. I can't do anything now. I just want to go to bed straight. I'm tired. We'll deal with filing police report and every other thing tomorrow. So I called the campus security just to notify them before calling 911. So I called them and they were like, oh, what's the reg of the car? So I gave it to them and they're like, oh, it's not stolen, it's been towed. I'm like, what? Who towed the car? So I was furious, of course. I'm like, why would, so I wanted to go off on the person, but I was like, you know what? It's not our job. It's not our, I mean, she probably didn't even know. Maybe she's just on the night shift. Like, okay, you know what? Where's the car? Can I get the address? She gave me all the details I needed. And I'm like, okay. So I called those ones immediately and they were like, oh, we're closed tonight. Can you come tomorrow? So my reaction shifted from the car is stolen to where now I know where it is. That was kind of like a relief because my mind was dealing with a stolen car, reporting and all that is more technical than dealing with now I know where it is. So I got home the following, so I told a friend of mine about it. So he was furious as expected. So I told another friend, furious as expected. So the following day, I went to the park where, to the yard where it was parked. I got there and they were like, oh, you have to pay. I'm like, pay for what? Like, pay for us to tow it, admin fee, storage fee. The guy listed about five. I'm like, my first question was, who told you to store it? Did I ask you? And then he was like, I'm sorry, I'm just doing my job. I'm like, okay, it's true. I understand. I apologize. Then I paid almost $500 to get it out. I'm like, so I just got into the car as I was driving off. If one of my friends that I told the night before called me and it was like, so how far did you get the car? I'm like, yes, I got it. I'm like, oh, thank God. I hope they did not charge you so much. I'm like, I paid almost $500. Oh, and then it went off. What nonsense. How would they charge you? Was it your fault? Did you? I'm like, I don't even understand. In the first place, why was the car towed? No one told me anything. Like, why? Now I'm paying money that I didn't plan for. And then it was like, yeah. But then immediately I told him, I said, you know what? I'm actually grateful. And so he stopped. So this is a guy ranting like, no, wait for me. We need to go back there. Why would I'm like, you know what? I'm actually grateful. And it was like, huh? Like, yeah. I said, at times in life, the way we look at things determine how we react. So I told him that. And I said, what do you mean now? And I was like, last night I was tired, very tired. I could have jumped into that car because I was tired, ran into someone or into another vehicle, or even gone off the ditch because as tired as I was. I would be paying more than 500 to get that fixed, if not even a court case. So right now, I'm appreciative of the fact that perhaps there's a bigger danger that was averted for me yesterday that I had to pay a price for by paying 500. I'll take this. So he kept quiet. And I was like, you know what? You started again. It's fine. I'll keep quiet. I'm like, yeah, but it's the fact. I mean, who knows what could have gone wrong yesterday? So I've chosen, and I told him, I said, I've chosen to look at the positive than focus on the negative of this.
Right?
And that
Paul's having the
positive,
same reaction I had.
and that positive is, I'll look at it from, I could have gotten into so much trouble last night. Perhaps the universe saved me from that, because really, I can't understand why the vehicle was towed. I can't. I mean, it can't be I can't even figure it out. So then So it was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I got back to campus, and so I got home and I called the campus security. So I need to understand why the vehicle was towed, because no one told me anything. So the person that picked the call, because when I called the night, they told me the only people that can give me that information work during the day, not nights. So when I called her, oh, I got a citation some time ago that I didn't pay, and I thought, where is the citation? That I parked somewhere I'm not supposed to park, or I didn't pay. I'm like, but I pay, yeah, my tickets. So the guy was like, okay, you can always fight it, but that would have to open a case for and all that. So I almost wanted to go off on him again. Like, and then I calmed myself immediately, like, okay, he probably wasn't even the one that gave me the citation in the first place. So I was like, you know what? Thank you for your time. And because I said thank you for your time, I was like, you know what? Wait, let's see if we can walk through this process. I called around 3:30, they actually, like 3:25, because that's when I got back from picking the car, and they closed actually at 3:30. So it took time to walk me through the process. Said, are you in front of your system? I said, yes. I said, go to this site, do this, do this, do this. Lodge a complaint, and then we'll see where we go from there. And that took us about 10, 15 minutes to get through. So I guess because I didn't go off on him, and he kind of understood, like, this could get anyone mad, or, you know what? Let's see what we can do about this. So that was my story.
Right? Paul's shaking his head. Yeah, this is the second time I've heard this story, and I still got goosebumps when you shared that there was a different way to look at this, because there is no way that would have been how I looked at it. Truly, honestly, there's literally no way that that would have been my positive outlook. And listening to you hear it, so say it twice, again, for the second time, you have been a role model to me of what does truly choosing our response mean. And yeah, I can feel it. Like there's emotion there, even just listening to you. I don't know, Paul, how do you react to that story now, having heard it for the first time?
Dean, you're a better person than I am, my friend. You are a better person than I would have been a little upset about things, that's for sure. At the end of the day, good for you for being patient and calm. It takes me much longer to get to that place, but an incredibly powerful story. So thank you for sharing that. First and foremost, I think that's so cool. And we don't often get really unique and interesting stories that you can kind of unravel the character of someone. And Dean, I hope to never make you as mad as the people towing your car, but I know that I'm safe if I do, because of definitely the kindness that you bring for sure. Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
I think Dean, what a perfect moment to head into the lightning round with
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany, to
Agreed.
go in and learn a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more about Dean.
Aw, thank you. All right. There is a lot. Like, I struggle to keep our coaching conversations to an hour. So I think the three of
Yeah,
us could talk for a long time. But
yeah.
let's head to the lightning round. Three quick questions, three gut answers. So the first question is, what part of your career story has given you the biggest boost?
I think it's my interaction with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I'm a people person, but and of course, at times I might come out as not being one, because at times I like to take the back seat,
Mm-hmm.
listen and observe a lot. But it's in my interaction with people. I enjoy what I learn from people's view a
Mm.
lot.
What do you wish you'd learned sooner?
Um, Self-regulation.
Mm. And service is something that we always like to end on. It's really important to Paul and I. So curious to hear how you are going to work service into the coming week.
Um, I would say it's more about putting myself in, throwing myself in, trying to help as much as I can and be doing it as a person, not by proxy, not indirectly. I mean, I'll quickly say one of the things we learned growing up is, and I think I must have said this to Tiffany before, there are three ways you can correct it: with your hand, with your mouth, or with your heart, in your heart rather. So in your heart might be the weakest because you're probably just condemning it in you, but with your hand is the most effective way of saying stop it, and I'm holding the person from stopping it, or do it, and I'm pushing the person to do it. So for me, it's doing it in person. That's what I mean by in person, not just, oh, and I wish you've done this, and I'm thinking about it in my heart. But if I could be like, okay, go do this, I'll walk you there. or I'll walk you through the process, or I'll support you as much as I can.
Cool. Thank you. Paul, you're up. Paul's random question.
Oh my gosh. I literally have no idea. I don't even know what to ask. But my gut reaction, I'm a very much an intuition based kind of individual. So my gut reaction, I've learned a little bit about Dean and his emotional regulation, how $500 doesn't set him off and send him to throwing chairs or something like that. Dean, what do you like to do for fun? What is, if you had kind of a whole day to yourself, what would you do?
Movies?
Movies? Yeah.
Yes, movies, or going out with close friends. That we, and I use clothes because, I mean, we're not trying to understand each other anymore. We already have an understanding. So I was telling Tiffany the other day that one of the things I started doing recently is shooting pool, right? Playing snooker and all that. So I did that with like a close friend of mine. I call him a brother actually now. So we're just there to have fun. So those are the kind of things. I'm less of an outdoor person. I'm more of an indoor person. Yeah. And I think
Yeah, you and Paul are similar there. I told him to go chat with Paul. I would not be the person to talk
yes.
to in that. You guys can share that. There's something else
Yeah,
the
and
three of us share recently, and I'll ask us to not give it away, but all three of us have watched A House of Dynamite recently. So, Paul, you can talk to Dean about that because Dean and I talked about it this morning, and Dean has some interesting thoughts on the movie. He loves depth, and it's a
Worst
deep.
movie I've ever seen.
I know.
Worst movie I've ever
Paul's
seen,
removed.
Dean. As someone who teaches storytelling classes, it is the worst movie I've ever seen in
Oh,
my
but it was
entire life.
brilliant
It was
and
it was
frustrating.
fantastic and ridiculous at the same time.
Tiffany told me you had a post about it on, is it Instagram or something?
Yeah,
Like,
Instagram.
yeah, like,
Paul's self-regulation was less than
Took a
yours,
moment.
and he.
Took a moment. Took a moment. I watched it and I could feel my bald head getting redder and redder and redder about how angry I was about the movie. Yeah.
Oh boy.
it's one of the movies I saw from the beginning to the end. And it's because I was looking at it from, okay, this dimension. Okay, let's look at it from that dimension
It
again.
was a
So
deep
it kind of
movie
was
if you allowed
interesting.
it to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Oh, Dean, I thoroughly enjoy you. And I'm really grateful that now Paul's gotten to chat with you a little bit. I know you chat in class, but I think there is just such value in spending time with Dean. And there's value around emotional intelligence. You and I haven't used those words yet until recently, but every conversation we have had has been full of emotional intelligence. So you lead by example, you lead without realizing it, that's what you're bringing. And I actually think that's what makes you the most valuable to talk about at this conversation. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for offering your story. And thanks for just being the type of human that we can use as a brilliant example of what emotional intelligence looks like. So thanks for that.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for allowing me to share my story again. I mean,
You're
it's,
welcome. You're
thank
welcome.
you. Thanks, Paul, as well, for having me.
Mm-hmm. Key takeaways. My brain was still trying to filter it through because it all just seemed key. But I wrote down this criticize versus critique. And what I really extra special enjoyed about the nuance and pulling those two apart is that when he talked about critiquing it together. And you had highlighted that, Paul. And a mentor once talked to me about when you give feedback, you need to give feedback either physically or mentally from the place of being beside someone on a couch instead of across from someone on a table.
Yeah.
And I linked those two together, that there's a difference, and that all of that is underpinned by emotional intelligence. And do we understand that? And do we understand the nuance of that? What does it feel like to sit beside someone and together look at something of theirs? And how can you use these 15 different skill sets to do so? So that was one of many. Anyway,
Very powerful,
I'll say it one.
Yeah, I think I'm completely on board with that. And as coaches, we give feedback all the time, and I think feedback and critique could look very similar. But I think in the same space that we just try to be just very willing to be in that puddle with them, and I think that's good. So, what I took away, he made a comment about, I believe it was his father talked to him about this. Be nice to people on the way up because you'll meet them on the way down. Wow. really hit home with me. I think we talk about brand, we talk about reputation, we talk about networking. All of that really talks into some of those things, which I could talk about that for hours. So I thought that was really great.
Yeah, at the core, be a good human, but
Yeah.
understand what it
Yeah.
means to be a good human.
Yeah.
Don't be a good
Yeah.
human by accident. Understand why you are a good
Yeah.
human, because no
Yeah.
matter which way you're going, it's going to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, we could talk about it forever, and you know what? We're going to talk about it again next week. Next week is another week on emotional intelligence because we spend 2 weeks on it in class. So we will talk about it and peel back the onion layer a bit more next week. So we'll catch you then. Thanks for tuning in to the Career Boosters podcast. We hope you had a blast. Yeah, we know that's corny. Catch you next time, and remember to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts.